Good evening. My name is Marissa Sweet, and I am the Vice President and Social Media Director for the Canadian Society of Canadian Artists. I am coming to you live because tonight I am going to have a very special guest to join us tonight. Her name is Karin Richter, and I know she's online already, and I will invite you to join soon, Karin. I'm just wanting to give everybody a little bit of an introduction on our special guest tonight, Karin Richter. Karin was born in Germany into an artistic family. She has had a passion for painting since she was a child, and she has completed her professional training in foreign languages and worked as a translator and interpreter in France and Germany. And eventually, in 1973, she moved to Montreal, Canada. Karin is an enthusiastic art instructor and has had many classes and workshops in Calgary and across Canada. She has become known as a traveling artist, and I'm eager to find out more about that. And she has led many groups on painting holidays on land and at sea in Canada, Europe, and Africa. Oh boy. Karin Richter is also a sought-after juror, a critic, and an organizer of art events. And if you have been following the Society of Canadian Artists, Karin has been our guru and our events coordinator, director of all our art shows and exhibitions. Karin is an elected member of the Canadian Society of Painters in Watercolour, the Alberta Society of Artists, the Society of Canadian Artists, and Pastel Artists Canada. She has a Master and Eminent Pastelist designation, which is so super like wow. Very high honors received to the Pastel Artists of Canada, and only I think 6 people have been awarded eminent pastelist designation. Karin has received many awards, including the Immigrant Distinction Award in 2010 for her contributions in the art community. She has also authored a book, and it's called Make Your Mark in Pastel, and it's an instructional book on pastels, so I'm eager to find out more about that. So I'm going to have her join us in a little while, and please stay tuned. We are going to be interviewing Karin Richter, a friend of mine, and such a lovely, lovely, lovely artist and friend, and I'm eager to chat with her tonight straight from Calgary. So let me find her in Instagram and I'm going to ask her to join in. So let me do this if I can remember how to do this. The Instagram has changed, so now I accept. And Karin, hopefully you receive the to join, and we're joined.
There we go.
There we go. I'm so excited to see you, Karin.
Oh. Am I framed properly? Can you see me? Or?
I can, and I can hear you very, very loud and clear. And
Okay.
Can you hear me loud and clear too?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so honored to have you as our guest tonight. We can chat, and I'm sure we have a lot of people who are really intrigued and want to know more about you as the artist and also as the person behind the art. So Karen, how is it in Calgary right now?
Oh, it's so warm here. It's
What?
actually, oh yeah, it's 15 or 16 degrees. And when I went for a walk, people were walking around in their t-shirts.
Oh, t-shirts and shorts maybe?
Yeah.
Well, over here, I mean, it's been sunny, sunny, cloudy, but it's still a little chilly. It's a little nippy. Yeah. So
Don't worry, it's gonna come. It's
it's
gonna
gonna
come.
come. Whatever comes from out west comes out east, right?
Yeah, or vice versa, yeah.
Yeah. So Karen, so have you always, I know you're a professional artist and you've been a professional artist for 30 years. So what did you do before that?
Well, like you said earlier when you were reading my bio, I was a translator and interpreter before,
Yeah.
working for big corporations like Volkswagen and places like that. And then in my 30s, I raised my children for a while. And then as soon as they went off to school, I made sure that I resumed my art making.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's when I started joining the Federation of Canadian Artists at first here locally, the Alberta Society of Artists, and so on and so forth. I got involved right away.
Right away.
And worked for all those societies at some point. So
Yeah, and then you found the SCA.
yes, of course.
And what made you join the Society of Canadian Artists?
Well, I mean, as a professional artist, you want to belong to the society that covers the artist across Canada, right?
Mm,
And the
right.
SCA, I mean, the Federation is trying very hard to, I see them now in Toronto and so on.
Yes, yeah.
But they're not as national as the Society of Canadian Artists is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I wanted to belong to a national society that covers all the mediums. And then I like to belong to societies that cater to the specific medium I work in. That's why I belong to the Watercolour Society, Pastel Artists Canada.
Yes.
So, they're specialized in those mediums.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Lovely. Lovely. Now tell us about your inspirations, Karen. I know you travel a lot. So what are your maybe your top 3 inspirations and why?
Well, I'm one of those people, I get bored easily. So I'm interested in just about everything. When I was still in Europe, I painted mostly still life and flowers and things like that. Coming to Canada, the landscape is so impressive, right? So that, obviously then I switched, did a lot of landscapes. I still do, obviously, here,
Yes.
with the Rocky Mountains next to me.
Right, right.
And otherwise, I mean, I'm constantly looking, and I always see something. And when we are on these vacations, people make fun of me because I would say, oh, look at those crunchy bits or something.
Yeah, there's always
because
something
there's
we
some
notice,
beautiful
right?
shadows and reflections and interesting things outdoors. And there's so much stuff out there, right?
Right.
Really.
Yeah, yeah. So you're inspired by nature and all the little microscopic stuff in nature as well interests you. You're also inspired by your travels and conservation as well. Since I'm talking about travels, maybe we can segue to that and maybe you can talk a little bit about how you bring groups with you to particular destinations and do you teach them watercolor or pastel when you're there? Or how does it all start?
Yeah, so I there's some slightly different vacations depending on the location. Like when I go to France and Italy, there's usually either studios or they have we are in apartments where we can designate a certain area for a painting, almost like a classroom area. So in that case, I will teach proper classes, meaning we would spend several hours and do it. Of course, we also go outside. There's always plein air involved. Some other locations, like going to Morocco, places like that, we are on the move. Right. So every few days we are somewhere else. And so there are very few of these really designated sessions. They're more like, come on, everybody, let's sit over there and let's sketch the harbor or something. You know, yes. It's that sort of thing. Right. So it depends very much on the locations and how much moving around there is. I go to a place in Italy where we stay put for 2 weeks. Oh. And we go out, you know, I hire buses and we go out to the neighboring villages for half a day or, you know, but we also spend quite a bit of time in that location because it's so fabulous, you know. So that lends itself then better to, you know, and yes, you're right. I teach watercolor. I mean, people are from all kinds of backgrounds, watercolor, pastel, acrylic, not oils. Oils I don't take on flights, but yeah, so.
Yeah, I guess watercolors are manageable when you're out plein-airing, when you have to travel internationally, right? Rather than oils, which probably get confiscated on the airport because of the maybe the mineral spirits. They don't want that on board.
Well, this is it. This is right? It. Actually, when I do no matter what paints I carry material data sheets.
Okay, okay.
You know, that I download from the manufacturer, and if there's ever a question. Like, for example, pastels are kind of interesting because, and I actually put them in my carry-on now so they can see right then and there without having to, you know, open up everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because they look like bullets, right? The way they are lined up.
That's right.
So they always haul me over to the side, which is why I now carry them in my carry-on.
Right.
And then right away people see what it is. And then they tell you stories about their children who play with them or
who paint with them as well, right? Yeah. Then it's because if it goes to the X-ray, right? It does look like, you know, you're carrying firearms.
Yeah. And of course, some paints like cadmiums and cobalts are heavy metals. Oh. So that will show up.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So I know right now you're taking names for the Great Bear. Was that the Great Bear Forest?
Rainforest.
Rainforest. Yes, yeah. Yes. I do follow them a lot because I'm into conservation as well, and I like all the efforts they're doing in other conservation efforts for wildlife and sea life. Yeah.
Yes.
It touched my heart that you're, I would really love to go there.
Well, and it's incredible. And again, that's something I started many years ago because I love the water. I love boats and so on. So I wanted to do something on the ocean, but not on a big cruise ship necessarily, you know. Right. So, and there's only about 10, maybe 12 people, depending on the ship. On the ship, there's a tall ship, there's a tugboat. They now have added a catamaran, which to me is almost too modern already.
Oh, yeah, I like the tugboat though.
Yeah, it's very comfortable. I mean, the sailing vessel is the oldest tall ship on the coast, so it's an incredible ship. You know, but it's a bit more rustic. You know, it's a bit tighter. But all those ships are beautiful, and I've been many times, and you're basically going to places where there's no one, right? Yeah. And you're spending hours sitting on a Zodiac somewhere offshore and watching the bears splash around in the estuaries, and it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, yeah. So do you just take photographs when you're out there, or do you actually have time to do a quick sketch?
Oh yeah, I mean we are going. I mean when we are on the ship and just motoring, I may give an actual proper lesson for a
Proper
couple of
lesson.
hours.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, you know that can be worked into the schedule
Mm-hmm.
when we are motoring. Otherwise, we are maybe walking somewhere on beaches. People sit down, they do their sketches because we spend some time in those places, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and otherwise you take photographs. That's true, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
no, there's a lot of you know, hands-on stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, wow. One day, Karen, one day I am going to join you in your trip because I totally am just so enamored with where you're going, and yeah, it's something I'd like to do. Yeah, definitely. So yes, so now how about let's go back to my questions because I could go and chat with you. That's why I have a list here of questions so that I don't go off track. Because you know how we are when we get together,
I know.
and we're just talking, and it's very rare that we do get together. So when I have the chance to talk with you, I'm just like I'm right there. So my question would be, how would you describe your art? And so for everybody to know how you describe your art.
Well, I mean, it is impressionistic, you
Mm-hmm.
know, obviously. Um, it's I admire detailed art very much, but it's just not in me, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, and I come from a school, you have to imagine, I grew up in the 50s, and in Europe, you know, we had Klimt, you know, we had all these, we had Kokoschka. So basically, my training, if you want to call it that, you know, I used to train with a local artist there when I was early teenager. The idea was not to paint things the way they are. So, you know, our teacher would give us a vase or a whatever and say, now you paint that, but not the way it is.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so, and yeah, so this is basically where I come from. So that's why when I came to Canada and got together with other artists, I was kind of considered the more abstract person out there. And then
Yeah.
because so many more realistic painters were around me, I sort of started to lean in that direction, right?
Yeah.
And so now in many ways I'm trying to go back there, you
Yeah.
know,
So
which
now,
is not that easy.
yeah, to go back into just being, yeah. So you're not being so realistic. Now you're going back to the basics of just being more uh, of loose and more expressionistic,
That's right. That's
right?
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is. It was in those days we had post-expressionism, right?
Mm.
So yeah. So and I think it's still very much so. You know, you don't
Yeah.
find much high realism in Europe.
In your
You find it more in the States. The States, a
oh,
lot of high realism.
so
Yes.
the states have the high realism.
Yes, they're
Okay.
really, I mean, and sometimes you think, oh, okay, they're getting a bit more away from that. And then you look at shows and they're, I mean, what wins all the awards is basically highly realistic
High
art, right?
realism. Okay.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
but I
Well,
think
there's I mean, like, you know, they're really so technically well, high realism is such a technical
oh gosh,
uh
yeah. But you know, everybody has to do their thing, right?
yeah, everybody has to do their thing, and I don't know what thing I am in right now. I seem to be going back to, well, I think for me, I'm like you, I'm an impressionist painter, but I start off my paintings very abstractedly, and then all of a sudden it goes into more after I play around a little bit, then I start to think. And then once I start to think, then there comes the representational comes into play,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the
yeah.
logical mind comes. Well, I'm glad. I see you more as an impressionistic painter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
your
like I
work.
said, I'm trying to stay in that lane, you know, but sometimes I'm getting pretty realistic there, you know. Think, what am I doing?
Where's this going? Well, the thing with art is we continue to evolve, right? We're not constant. So that's the beauty of being a creator, is that we continually start to grow and we experiment and we push the borders and we push the boundaries, and that's what makes us I guess a unique in
Yeah,
itself, right?
yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
good. That's a good thing. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So wow. And I was going to ask you to segue to that, because I know now you're an impressionist painter. So describe your process, because I went in and described my process. How do you start?
Well, I mean, it depends on the medium, right? And I
Okay.
have different ways of doing things, and it's probably because I'm teaching. You know, I
Yes.
found as a teacher, if I never had taught, I don't know where I would be right now. I would probably be doing different things.
Oh.
Students kind of challenge you to do different things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
somebody will say,
Mm-hmm.
well, you know, can you show me how to do this or that? And so, yeah, you're always trying to discover new things. Anyway, with pastels, I work on suede board, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of somewhat unusual. Some people do, mostly animal artists, portrait painters. You know, there's quite a few that paint on suede board. It's
Right.
basically matte board that has
Mm-hmm.
a suede finish, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't know, I just happened to see a colleague of mine try something one day, and I thought, oh, I like that. So, and I really, really got hooked on it. And because the result is so lush, right? It's
Mm.
so, yeah, lush, I guess is
Lush.
the
Lush
only,
is the word. Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
word, right?
Yeah. Lush is the
And
word.
yeah, and so even so, and every time, you know, and I paint acrylics, of course, too, and so on. And every time I do that, I think, I love the pastels more because the result is so lush, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm in love with this suede board. And then I basically paint because I used to be a watercolor painter, I mean, exclusively at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I paint everything like watercolor. You
Mm.
know, I paint it straight up.
Right.
I don't layer very much.
Ah.
Uh, you know, a lot of it is negative painting, you know, I mean, there's maybe a little layering, highlighting involved, but not really a lot of layering. I work straight up, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, just looking here, I think, is the sun on my face? Anyway, so yeah, that's how I work on the suede board.
Mm-hmm.
If I work in, just here. If I work acrylics, I work them either on a colored ground
Mm-hmm.
or I do paintings on a value study, you know,
Okay.
on a grisaille, so to speak,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so I do that depending on what subject matter, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
When you did
so
the Moroccan spring, is it that painting that I put in our poster? How
yeah,
what is that?
that's pastel, and that was done on I think it was done on a red ground.
On a
You know?
red ground.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, it's kind of a triadic thing. You know, I have blues, reds, and yellowish greens in there. So red was the best choice there.
Mm.
You know.
So do you sketch it out first and then you go in with color?
Yeah, I mean, I just do a basic sketch. I don't go into too many details. I just
Right.
lay out my subject matter. In some cases, I mean, I'm already taking the photographs such a way that it hopefully will work as a composition, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
You
yes.
know, when I'm taking the photographs.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I'm not sure if there's some problems with it, then sometimes I may do a little thumbnail sketch. You know, something that I'm always on my students about, you know.
Oh, yes. So do you always do a thumbnail sketch? Because I kind of do that a lot.
Yes, I do it a lot, but
Yeah.
again, sometimes it's so obvious to me, you
Yes,
know.
yes, yes.
And
Yeah.
and then I use different things like red mylar. I don't know if you're using something like this,
Red.
a
No.
value finder, right?
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So I just use an old mat and I put some red. I mean, mylar is hard to get nowadays
Yes.
because a lot of the graphic stores don't exist anymore. So
Yeah.
I just went to the looting shop and a dollar store and got some, you know, some cellophane, some red
Sure.
cellophane.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and if you put that on the picture or whatever, you know, you check your values that way, see if they flow and, you know, that sort of thing.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
like when you go on your holiday trips with your students, how would you start your sketch? Do you demo to them first and then they
Sometimes,
follow?
I
Yeah.
mean, you have to remember that a lot of these people are part of my classes, my ongoing classes.
Okay, so they, yeah,
Yes,
so they
so
know
they
already.
already have been briefed on many
Yes.
things, right?
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know?
they're I would say you're intermediate already. So they
Well,
know.
yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not total beginners.
Beginners, yeah. So they kind of know how to go about with doing a sketch. So if you just say, okay, we're here, let's sketch that, you don't have to sit with them and coach
Yeah.
them step by step. They know
No.
what to do now.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
go, they sit around in different, say there is a market square in Italy or something. Some will sit in a cafe, sip their Prosecco while they're sketching. And others sit somewhere else on the church steps or something. So I just go walk around and I find these people, you know, and give them some advice if necessary.
Give them advice, give them tips, right? Now that you said Prosecco, ta-da! Cheers! It is 8 o'clock here.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm glad. I've always been interested in your process because you do acrylics, you do watercolors, you also do a lot of mixed media, isn't that right? Or,
well, I do abstracts, yes,
and abstracts.
So I play around with collage and yeah, you know,
and acrylics and
yes,
and
yes.
then of course your pastel. Like, wow. And pastel for me, as I was talking to Kathy Hildebrand when I interviewed her 6 weeks ago.
Yes.
I'm just so, like, I find pastels, I guess I have to give it another shot, but I just find it's difficult. It's a difficult medium for me. So I guess, I don't know.
But you know, you can paint it just like acrylics or oils. It's not any different. Actually, a lot of people that see my paintings when they're framed, they think they're oils.
Oh.
You know, because they have that softness to them.
Right,
you know?
right.
And no, you work them the same way. You can work them on a ground, which I don't really do. I don't prepare my ground.
Right.
But a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So yes, you can work them. You can even put on a turpentine wash and onto your paper. And there's all kinds of techniques, you know.
Yeah. And do you discuss that in your book? Segue to your book.
Yes.
Just for everybody who's watching right now, I'm interviewing Karin Richter, and she is a master pastelist with an eminent designation by Pastel. Is this Pastel Canada? Pastel Artist Canada. Yes. Yes. So that's why I'm asking her a lot of pastel questions, because I'm very intrigued by it. And I'm very fearful of it.
No.
So we have a question here. What pastels do you use? As I am interested and I'm not sure what to buy.
Well, again, you know, everybody does something different. You have to realize that, right? I work because I work on suede board. I use only soft pastels. I mean, the really soft ones. I'm using Schminke, the German brand.
Okay. Yeah.
There's some U.S. brands that are very soft. Terry Ludwig. Gosh, I don't know if when you see me, do you see me there in all this light or?
I see you in all the light.
Uh-oh.
I see you in a spotlight, darling. It's like the sun is kissing you right now.
Oh gosh, yeah. Just a second. I'm going to try to pull that a bit more.
Okay. So for those who just tuned in, I am interviewing Karin Richter, who is a master pastelist with the Society of Canadian Artists. Yes. So
it's
what
better.
were we were talking? Yeah, that looks better, Karin. Yeah. Yeah. The sun is not on your face right now.
Right. Good.
Yes.
Yeah. No, like I said, I use almost exclusively super soft pastels. If you are somebody who works on paper, on sanded paper, and you know, you want to build up layers, like say if you wanted to paint like you paint in oils, you know, where you first put down a ground in different colors and whatnot, then you would start with harder pastels and then slowly add the really, really soft ones towards your highlights.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah. And do you go straight from the actual stick, or do you grind it somewhere and use a brush, or?
No, I mean, there is, you go straight with the stick, and that's why the whole thing is so much fun. It's like being back in school, you know, where you just do crayons, right?
Yeah,
it's so much
you're just
fun.
right there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much fun. You don't have to mix colors. You know, you just grab a stick that you want. And now, if there is such a thing called pan pastels, and they're like little round things. They look like makeup. Right?
They look like, you know, like eyeshadow, right?
Exactly, exactly, yeah. And you go in there with a little like a makeup applicator, and you paint with that. Now, this is not my kind of thing because I'm not a mushy painter.
Right.
You know, a lot of people who are into pastels, they like to blend with their fingers and all of this.
Right.
I don't really do that, right?
Yeah.
So that's why. You know, you have to find the materials that suit your particular style of painting.
Right. Yeah,
you know?
And your personality. So you just do the stick, right, Karin? And you just layer.
Well, I just go dibble dabble, and then maybe I leave it, and you know, big strokes or whatever, and then I might come back and put a little highlight on it, you know. But it's not a process where I layer meticulously.
Yeah. Cassie, I think she uses pencils.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can start with pencils, then the hard pastels, and then slowly the softer.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I have that brand, but I think that brand is really high end, right? It's
it's not cheap. Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's the soft one, right? So
yeah, I mean, you get what you pay for.
Of
right?
course.
Because it's almost pure pigment.
Oh,
right?
Wow. Yeah. Now, does it? I mean, like, so a lot of people go, okay, it's too dusty for me. Like it's all over my hands or something like that. So how do you go about with managing your tools?
Well, I mean, there is such a thing, and I don't have one yet. Again, everything is $1,000, $1,000. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, there are air purifiers that you can mount in your studio, right? I don't have that, but other than that, you wear gloves,
right?
And you wear a mask when possible. Right.
Okay.
And because you can inhale some of those some of these pigments, like I said earlier, cadmiums and cobalts, they can be very dangerous if you inhale it, right?
Right.
So so I wear a mask and I wear gloves.
Yeah.
And and some people spray their pastels in between layers, which again, I don't do that. But I must say that on the suede board, because it's sort of a, well, again, it's a suede finish, it grabs those particles really, really well.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is not much dust the way I work.
Oh, yeah. So the suede just sort of absorbs it, grabs it all,
sort of
right?
Grabs it because it has all these tiny, tiny little fibers, right?
Right. Yeah.
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 And this problem with spraying also is that no matter how good a spray you buy, and there's some very expensive ones out there, they eventually may darken your product, right? So it's kind of, some people do, some people don't. Or some people only do it while they're layering, and then they may not, but they may not do it at the end, right?
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, that's the one thing that I don't like about pastels, that it's very fragile.
Fragile, yeah.
So I actually put the glass straight against onto the pastel. Straight.
Oh, so when you're framing your pastel, once it's done,
so
you put the glass straight?
Yeah, they call it French envelope framing.
Oh.
And it's all together, the glass, the board, the backing, and then you put it into a frame that has maybe a mat or no mat, whatever. But it's all together. And because some other people use mats, you know, like on a watercolor, looks like a watercolor. And then they have spacers between the mat and the work.
Oh, okay,
you know?
okay. Yeah.
But in that case, if the work moves or something, because there may be some dust coming down.
Right, and the pastel could drop?
Yes, it could.
On the, yeah.
Yeah. So while I just put it all together, the glass sits straight on top of it. And actually some framers here in town, big galleries do it now too.
Yeah.
So it's because nothing moves, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So that's called envelope framing. I learned something new. Woohoo! How about your watercolors? How do you frame them?
Well, I just frame them with a mat and
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still doing watercolors right now? Are you still doing your watercolors?
Oh yeah. I've been in I think it was last year, we had the Society of Painters and Watercolor. We had a show in France. I was part of that.
Oh wow! And, congratulations.
So yeah, no, it's like I said, it makes me, it keeps my hand in everything. Just trying to participate in some of those shows, and I just find it fun.
Yeah. Oh, Karin, you're just an inspiration for sure, for sure. Oh. Wow. So, with this piece that I put in the poster, it's called Moroccan Spring. So tell me a little bit more about it. So what inspired you to paint that particular piece?
Well, again, when like you asked me earlier, what inspires me. So, I often look, or I seem to be looking, you know, when I really analyze it, I seem to be looking for subject matter that sort of combines organic with inorganic. So, you know, I often do buildings and maybe a flower box on it. Or I do buildings with, I don't know, you know,
vines climbing in it.
Yeah. Right.
Or windows that have pots in there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and this, of course, in Morocco, you have these beautiful windows, right? This wrought iron stuff.
Yeah.
And it almost got a little bit too detailed for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it had that, you know, the blooming, I don't know what kind of plants there were, beautiful flowering plant. And then it had that wrought iron window behind it. So I was right away attracted to that, you know, juxtaposition between organic and inorganic.
And organic,
right?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So I often gravitate towards that. You know?
Yeah, no, I was so intrigued by it. So I said, okay, this is going to be in the poster. And then I put it in my story. Oh, let's look for a Moroccan music. So, and I go, oh, this is perfect. Oh, yeah, that was really, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think you liked it too. So, how long have you been a member now of the Society of Canadian Artists?
2004.
2004. I wonder if I was a member already.
I'm dating myself now.
I think I was a member already, although I think I was an associate at that time. I still didn't have the courage to apply for elected
Yeah.
at that time. Yeah,
And then 2 years later, I think it was barely 2 years later that I then joined
joined
as an
as an
exhibitions
elected. Oh,
coordinator. And
yes.
yeah, and then I took a break until I came back there.
Yes. And then we had you for 6 years. Yeah. No, amazing, amazing work. And are you happy to be sort of retired
Well,
from the
I mean, when I count all the volunteer work that I've done for the different societies, I've done a total of 25 years. So,
yes.
I think I need to step back a little, and you know, time is tight.
Yeah, yeah.
Time is ticking. I gotta
Time
get
is
the work done.
time is ticking. So you wanna just focus on your art and focus on your travels
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just enjoy it, right?
yeah.
Because
And
it
there's
is
so
it
many
is
things to do, you know,
so
so
many
many
things.
things to do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So many things to do, so many things to conquer and experience. Yes,
I know. But you never know. I might be back sometime. I mean, I'm still have my hands in it, as you know, because we are
yes.
looking for somebody who will oversee
Oversee.
exhibitions.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you know, but yeah, I'm still sort of a bit involved at this point.
And we
But
appreciate that. We appreciate that so much.
well,
Because
you
I
know, the
know you
thing
were,
is this, I do love the work. You know, I
yes,
do
yeah,
love the work.
yeah,
It's just that, you know, somebody else has to get a chance.
of course, of course. And I know you were working hard and thinking about having the actual live show in Niagara, right? But we just didn't know about COVID protocols and lockdowns and everything. So
Yeah.
it's best that we just postpone it for now, right? Yeah, yeah. So how let's go back to my points. Let's go back to my list here. If not, we're gonna talk about other things like pizza or something. Okay, hang on. Um, how did you start organizing trips to go and paint outdoors in your trips abroad? And has it always been abroad, or have you brought trips, groups of people plenaring outside of Calgary, or how did it all start?
Well, I mean, I guess it starts with the fact that I'm somebody who's always traveled, right?
Mm,
So
mm-hmm.
travel is always something I've always done throughout my life. You know, I speak several languages. I teach art. So the next step is to go somewhere else, you know, with people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, it's and I like to organize. So it's all in my
All
lane,
in your
right?
lane. And when did it start, Karen?
I think it was, I don't know, 2005 or something around there, 2006. So it's been a long time, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's now talking about Canada and overseas. The thing is this, I have offered over the years some trips within Canada, and for some reason, they're not, people want to go overseas. Because
Oh.
I think they figure if it's within Canada, you know, I remember, I think the first trip I ever organized was going to Victoria and do all the gardens there, right?
Right.
And, you know, Yeah, there's some people who are interested, but people really want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. People would like to see a different culture and paint that culture.
Yes,
So if
because
you're
they
in
can
Italy,
figure, yeah, they figure they can
yeah,
go and drive around Canada themselves.
that's right. And then, but if it's in Italy and you're in a group, it's less intimidating than going there and painting there by yourself, right?
Yes.
So if you're in a group and you're a group of painters and you're painting in the streets of Italy, it's just much more fun. And then you can have a glass of wine after. Oh.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, husbands or wives join.
They join in.
And
Yeah.
sometimes they try to paint and they sometimes put their spouses to shame.
Yeah. Oh, that's too fun. Too fun.
No, yeah, no, I've noticed that. I've offered a few things and no, people want to go overseas.
Go overseas, yeah. So I'm sure because of the COVID lockdowns and everything, I'm sure you missed all of that, and I'm sure you actually had to cancel a few last year. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I had to cancel the Amalfi Coast, Italy,
Oh,
Naples,
wow.
you know, and so on, Pompeii. That is now has been postponed to October of this year, but it doesn't look likely. Probably next spring. There was also a trip to Newfoundland. So that was one in Canada because it's kind of, you know, it's like out there, you know.
Out there, yeah. You're going east from west. You are, yeah.
And then, like I said, and then I've added the Great Bear rainforest for next year because my thinking was that even if things are still iffy, this is something that can be done because it is offshore. Right. There's only 12 people there. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not you're not with other people there. You don't mingle. You know.
Yeah, and it's just you. And then if you self quarantine, if ever, like 14 days before, then you should be fine.
Yeah. Something like that. You know. Yeah. Everybody will have to be vaccinated probably.
And by that time, I think everybody would have been vaccinated by then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So 2022. But again, you know, it takes a year to even think about it and to organize it, right? So
at least
yeah.
At least,
so
and I have a feeling that next year, I think when the doors open, it's going to be like a flood. You know, everybody, you should see even now, I get lots of emails, even from people other than my students, that say, I want to be put on the list. You know, everybody is dying to get out.
Yes, especially, oh guys, I think everybody is really excited and wanting to travel. So as soon as we all get vaccinated, we're out of here.
That's right.
Yeah. I had a question earlier there. They were asking about your books. So maybe we can talk about your instructional books or book. Is it just one book, Karin, that you wrote?
Yeah, at this point, it's just the one. It's the pastel one.
Yes.
I am working on an acrylic one. And I also do other things except for books. I also do things like I also have a video, right?
Oh, okay.
A DVD, also on pastel, similar. And then, like for watercolor painter, I do something called Workshop in a Bag.
That's right. You should talk about that. I'm so intrigued by it.
This is something for beginners.
Yes, right? Yes. It's got the whole kit.
Yeah, and it basically is for people who just start out. It has all the materials in there. It has an instruction booklet, so it gets you going. And then as a follow-up, you know, I also put out these little things, so lesson number 2 and so on and so forth. So the other one was a landscape. This is a floral, you know, things like that.
So is that, how do they purchase that? How can they get that, Karin? Is that on Amazon or do they have to go to your website?
Yeah, so my book and my DVD, if somebody wants to Google that, it's available as ebooks, as regular books. You can just order that online, right? The DVD and the book. This other stuff is something that I have on my website. You
Oh,
know?
the kit, the watercolor kit.
The kit, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I also offer something called a critique service. You find that all on my website, in my store. You know, I have a store there.
You have a store. I just got into the store, so I because COVID hit, right? So I said I have to have a store.
Yeah.
So exactly. Wow. Oh, so they can order it through your website.
Yes, they can order it from me directly. You know, I
yeah.
can ship stuff, whatever.
Yeah. Wow, wonderful book. I did get a copy of that, which I will post on our SCA Instagram feed, so that we can promote your book.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
I know I put it in a story, but I think because the stories only last for 24 hours, you know, people may have missed it. But if I put it on the feed, then it's going to stay there.
Right.
Yeah. So people can see it, and we can help a lot more people on their art by reading your book.
Much.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. So my goodness, we're flying with my questions here.
Give me just a second. I'm going to have to move that curtain here.
Oh, did the sun move again?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it moved again. That's so nice, because over here it's nighttime already. Like, it's really dark. Yeah. So the sun, because it's right now 6:47 around that time,
sun
right?
Sun is setting,
Yeah, so sun is setting now.
Right.
And I just wanted to, for those who just came in, who just joined us, I am interviewing Karin Richter. She is an SCA elected and honorary member. We have just awarded Karin an honorary status for all her dedication and love for the SCA for so many years as our exhibitions director, and for volunteering and devoting all her time and effort to keeping our exhibitions up and running and going. And I think, Karin, you were also the pioneer in getting all our online exhibitions going. When nobody was doing online, you got it going for the SCA.
Not that I know much about online, but
you got it going.
I had people.
You had people. Did you have people? No, it was absolutely. And really it's we have reached so much more people and artists all over the world because of the international online. And this online exhibition that we are currently showing right now reached so many countries. So
I think the numbers is a record, because of course I've been there since the beginning, and I think it's a record.
It's a record number of entries. Yes. Yeah. It's I would imagine. So I would imagine it's one of the biggest that we've
amazing.
Had. Yeah. So thank you for being the how would I say, the initiator, the one who started it all, the one who came up with the concept. No, lovely. We thank you for that. So now I just wanted to ask you, last question. You're teaching digitally now. Tell me about it. We're doing online instructions now, right?
I know, isn't
like
this
live.
Crazy?
Yeah.
Well, I just finished my first real course online, and not Zoom, but because that's fairly easy, with the MS Teams.
Yes, yes.
Through the St. Lawrence College in Kingston,
Right. Yeah.
where I normally go to. You know,
Right.
I'm there in person, and of
Yeah.
course that was canceled last year. So so finally they put this on online, and it was quite the learning curve. You know, I had to go through all kinds of training with them, and you know, the IT department is right there getting everybody up to speed, and
Yeah.
so it was a bit stressful, but you know, first I wasn't going to do it, and but then I thought, okay, might as well. If you want to stay in business, you
Yeah.
might as well do it,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, and now actually, strangely enough, since then I've gotten, I don't know how many calls already from art clubs here in my area, for example, that want to do Zoom this and Zoom that, and critiques, and so yeah, it's a good thing that I stuck with it, because
Yeah.
I'm not so overwhelmed anymore. You
Right.
know?
Right. And it's I guess it has its advantages as well, that you don't have to travel to get to the
True.
class.
True.
Although I know you like to travel.
But not down the highway in the middle of the night, you know.
Yeah. But it does have that advantage, and you do reach a lot more people when you're online, I find. So I think that's open doors for us as artists and as instructors. And again, I am also teaching online, and
Right.
and it is a learning curve, and you know, new materials and gadgets that I had to buy, and learn how to use it as well, right? And I also use MS Teams, so I just
Okay.
find that it's just I don't know, well, it's Microsoft. You're right, that's what I'd like to say.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's good, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think it has a lot of advantages. I'm sure the Zoom has its advantages as well, especially if you pay for it, right? So, but
Yeah.
yeah, any way that you can reach more students and more people who would like to learn but can't get out, or there are no galleries that are open, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. That's
yeah.
right. But still, you know, even with all that, everybody is really, you know, longing to be together again.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like seeing the actual color right there, and
That's right.
seeing the instructor actually paint and mix their paint right there.
Exactly.
And then ask them, and then you get body language, and you get the interaction. It's just so different being online than in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even towards the end of the of last year's classes, right? You know, we already had to do social distancing, and you know, I had to set up a screen and a projector, digital projector, and all of that, just so people could stay, you know, apart in the classroom. But even that, some people didn't like it, you know. It's just because it's just, you know, because normally they would be standing right behind me.
I know. They're right behind you. They're watching your every move.
I know.
Here you are sweating it up.
Sometimes I have to say, you got to give me some elbow room here.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. Well, listen, I am just so excited again that we had this time. We are running out of time, and it's soon to sign off, but our time is almost up. But we have about another minute that I'd like to open it up. So how can viewers get in touch with you and see your work, Karin?
Well, again, if people on Instagram, they can see through my feed what I have. Of course, there's my website, just karinrichter.com, you know, simple as that. Yeah, and otherwise just email me at karinrichter@shaw.ca.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
lovely again. Lovely to have you. I am so thrilled to talk to you. I miss you so much.
Oh, me too.
Because I used to see you every year.
No,
Yeah. So I miss you too so much. I miss our shows, and soon we'll be together again. So for
For sure.
everybody, everybody who's tuned in, thank you for
Thank you
joining us
so much.
tonight.
Thank you very much.
In our live, and please check out Karin Richter's feed and her website and her book, and we hope to touch base with everyone again real soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, Karin. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.